The MoneroTopia Price Report segment is sponsored by Exolix, a privacy-focused, non-custodial instant crypto exchange. Go to exolix.com to enjoy secure and completely anonymous swaps with no KYC or sign-up. Swap between Monero and 2,000 plus assets at the most competitive rates and with no limits. Exolix.com, your fast and secure way to privacy.
All right.
I think that was our quickest intro ever.
Yeah, I'll try and probably going to power through this.
Okay, yeah. Do what you got to do. Guys, like and share. We only got 27 live viewers right now. Let's crank it up here. We should. I'm sure there's plenty of Monero curious out there right now. People that have seen Monero recent price rise. It's caught their attention. Let's bring them over into MoneroTopia land. Oh, what do you got there, buddy?
Nothing. Proprietary. That's actually probably
your
the code
IP
for the wave magic. So yeah.
Oh shit! He flashed it
my
up there.
intellectual property, which doesn't exist. It's over. Someone's taken it. It's done. Good luck. It's the libraries and the filtering. That's the real magic there.
Okay.
Yeah. So we're probably gonna kind of wing this today. I haven't really prepared much for you guys, so I haven't looked at the charts in a couple days. But
All right, give us your fresh take. Obviously, I think it looks like Monero's at least been holding up well relatively against the broader crypto market. But yeah, tell us where we're at.
Yeah, looks like we've been doing pretty good. I know I saw Bitcoin kind of had some maybe not problems, but it sort of stopped out where we talked about last week. Said, hey, it's probably gone a little far. Don't expect to get too much more gains immediately from Bitcoin. But Monero kept going up pretty much through the entire week. We just kept getting little gains. So that's nice. I just have to imagine fundamentally that this dude that was willing to take a 30% haircut on swapping into Monero is still probably trying to eat up as much liquidity as he can. So it's just difficult to see that this. I mean, okay, there's going to be people taking profits, normal Monero people taking profits, or probably, let's just say, normies that got into Monero are going to be like, oh, should I take profit now? Like, no, stop it. Don't be stupid. It's said in the Jim Cramer voice, obviously. But in a general sense, if we go to the weekly here, I mean, it does look like we're going to hit the underside of this pleb line.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I am considering a silver pivot. It's kind of inherently dangerous to go with silver over gold, but that might be the pivot here soon.
Yeah, he kind of like saying, broader market will be taking a downturn at some point, like an extended downturn, and it sounded like that's when he was saying to transition into silver is kind of like the point.
Oh, interesting. I wonder. Okay, I'll just have to listen to it. I wonder if he would be expecting a sort of commodities breakout at the same time. Because silver should break out. Like if there's a commodities breakout, that's when silver has a good chance of running. So I don't know where I fell off with you guys. I just felt like I was probably talking to myself for a good moment there.
Yeah, I think you're talking to yourself for maybe like 3 minutes.
Okay.
Frank is saying that was a great interview this week. Yeah, it was cool. It was fun. It was very, very bullish. And he's not like a Monero guy. He's not some Monero maxi at all, really. He doesn't really know the Monero tech. He just was looking at the chart. And even Bitcoin, he doesn't seem to be that interested in. He's kind of more of a gold bug. He's one of these gold bugs, but
okay.
he does see interest in Bitcoin as it is starting to, more closely mimic digital gold. Although he's saying at this point it's really not gold like at all. It just trends with the Nasdaq and the broader market, and he doesn't really see it acting as gold at all. But
okay,
he is interested in it.
I guess I'm going to go ahead and try and power through this even faster. All
right. Yeah. Do your thing.
Sorry about that. I guess we'll have Ronan clip out the miss or whatever. Anyways.
Audio 2X. Here we go.
Yeah, probably 2X. I don't even know if I can go 2X. I'm already at 2X. Yeah, anyway, so I think we talked about what we said is that Bitcoin had some issues, some problems. Not really problems, but it kind of flattened out where we expected it to last week. We said, hey, don't expect a big breakout any further from Bitcoin, at least for a little bit. Expect some consolidation, but Monero over the past week just continued to put on new gains day by day. So that's quite good. I feel like at this point, there's a really good chance that we just see Monero touch the underside of this pleb line right here. The other thing too is that, forgive me if I'm repeating myself, but this guy that did this heist and was willing to take a 30% haircut on his swap just to get into Monero. it's hard to think that this guy isn't continuing to swap into Monero and whatever liquidity that he can find. So yeah, he's probably continuing to help like push the price higher. He's probably continuing to swap. So it's difficult to think that this would be the end of the breakout, right? It feels like, you know, this breakout is probably going to continue. And like we said, it's not like, oh, well, it's just some heister got into Monero and, you know, okay, bro, like that's all your price is made up. No. There was no more selling pressure left. This breakout was going to happen sooner or later. Like it was just time for it to happen, whether it was this heist or something else, a whale buying even just like $10 million of Monero, right? Like this was going to happen. This was coming. So yeah, it looks like we're probably going to try and hit the underside of this pleb line. The beautiful part would be if we were able to get above this pleb line, right? Like kind of do something like this, get up here, maybe like flirt around with that, and then start breaking out like to this, you know, to the upside there. And you can see on the dates down there, if you just go straight down, you know, you can see that could happen between now and the end of the year. Like we could be back at all-time highs by the end of the year, potentially. Like the chart wouldn't be preclusive to that possibility. Let's go ahead and take a look at some of the other things here. Probably Bitcoin to Monero ratio. I imagine this is doing quite well at the moment. Yeah, it looks like we've continued to go up. Oops, sorry, I'm on a touchpad here, so might be a little bit delayed. But yeah, so it looks like we've done pretty well relative to Bitcoin. Dang it. Let's go back. There we go. All right. Sorry, I'm just trying to expand this chart somewhat so that we can see a little bit more of it. Yeah, usually, so this purple line has started to curl up a little bit. We're on the daily here. Yeah, it's a little bit slow on the charts. We probably won't dwell too long on this because I'm getting delays. But yeah, Monero Bitcoin price still breaking out as well. And you'll see when we take a look at Bitcoin that, you know, that does make sense. Obviously, Monero versus gold also still doing pretty good here. I would actually wonder, we're actually starting to get to these blue bands, which are going to act as kind of a resistance level. We're at the very bottom of what could be that resistance level there. So, you know, you might, we wouldn't expect this to stop just yet, but somewhere in this zone, right, is where you're going to see the gold to Monero ratio probably have a tendency to slow down. Maybe need to consolidate a little bit. Oh yeah, we talked about next C last week. Let's see, did they come back to, I guess eventually it looks like they came back to normal. Let's go ahead and try and, where are the settings? Double click. Yeah, so what we're looking at is the volume adjusted price divergence, but we're just going to remove the volume adjustment. Yeah, okay, so they maxed out at -6% relative to Kraken. So I guess they're back to normal now. All right. Very, very typical action, very Binance style reminiscent action there. All right, let's go to the total crypto market currencies situation. Monero is still basically doing better than everyone else. Kind of having a pullback this week. You know, it's more of a consolidation, a slight pullback, more so a consolidation. Yeah, I guess looks to me like Tron here is still performing at the top. Bitcoin and Bcash also still top performers there on this chart. And let's take a look at the Bitcoin chart, the big abusive daddy of all the cryptocurrencies. You know, eventually we're going to have to move out of the house because Bitcoin's going to continue abusing everybody, especially the maximalists. No, just kidding, obviously. Okay, yeah, so we talked about last week, said, hey, you know, these blue bands right here are definitely a place to look for some kind of resistance. And at the moment, it's kind of difficult to imagine Bitcoin just shooting to the top side here, but honestly, anything can happen. There was some big news, I guess. There's always big news. It's just big news with Trump constantly. The biggest, the most fantastic, fabulous. They've reached a trade deal with China, so now the tariffs are back to above where we started before Trump's term. So still higher, but not as high as they were threatening. So you never know, guys. The next thing we know, they're going to be like, time to turn the tariffs back up. Like there is some components of just straight up fraud happening to jack the markets around when it comes to these tariffs. So like, just know that that's happening. Know that they can pivot on a dime. Know that the markets can just be like, oh my God, we've got to put tariffs on some other country. I don't know, India or Japan or whoever's a bad actor, right? They're going to put the tariffs on that country, and Trump's going to negotiate with himself until he negotiates himself down to lower tariffs again. And ultimately the art of the deal will shine through. Basically, that's what's happening. I put that a little bit whimsically, but effectively, right? That's what you can expect from the Trump and Melania coin presidency in terms of market dynamics. If I don't have any opinions, guys, actually, on where this chart goes right now. This thing could, for no reason, just decide to shoot to the top side. Maybe they print 10 billion tether next week and we just see this thing go to new all-time highs. Or maybe it drops down. I am curious. I do want to see where did we end on the macro this week? Is this the macro? I guess it is indeed. Okay, so yeah, like I said, I'm kind of winging this, guys. I'm looking at the charts with you for the first time after a couple days here. Yeah, okay, so reverse repo is not showing us anything that useful. It has a slight feel to it, like it might want to go up, but I don't think we can rely on my feels here for what that chart's going to do. Let's see, oil price still hanging out pretty low. Yeah, you probably got the OPEC weighing on it. There's a little bit of the negative removed. Here's another thing that seems to be happening. So because of the tariffs, yes, tariffs, no situation, you're getting massive shipments at the times that tariff windows are down. So they're like stocking up in the United States. Like a lot of companies are stocking their products here while they can, in the anticipation that who the fuck knows what the tariff meister in chief is going to be doing next. So yeah, oil's probably gonna remain somewhat stable here. I wouldn't expect oil to actually like make some massive comeback, and it's probably not going to crash down to like 50, 40 anytime soon. It's probably reaching some sort of stabilization level for now. Oops, didn't mean to do that, but that's fine. Let's take a look at gold. I think gold has had actually quite a significant pullback. Last I checked at the end of the week, it seemed to be, yeah. So, yeah, I mean, this isn't too surprising, guys. We said, hey, gold is starting to feel kind of toppy, right? Like gold is feeling like, and then we also have my purple band. I won't add that to the chart here, but gold is starting to feel a bit toppy, and it exactly tagged that statistical level that I said. I don't know entirely why it works. I just know that it historically it has. It's an acceleration metric for moving standard deviation and done in a non-arbitrary way. So it's not like the second or the third standard deviation. It's a not completely non-arbitrary way to extend that concept. And we tagged that line. And so I said, hey, I'm still not selling my gold, even if that was the top. There will be another chance, probably not at the absolute top, but there will be another chance to get out of this thing if we get clear macro conditions. I'm like the guy that I guess was on your show. I still worry that I don't think the macro conditions are great, right? I don't think that we're in a good macro situation. I think that if we were, all of this nonsense with tariffs wouldn't be necessary. And I think that we really have to worry about the danger of resumption here some point later on this year. All right, so I'm not really seeing too much on the macro here, actually, that's super useful for us. So let's try to go to stocks and just see if we can pull out any signal there. Actually, I think stocks did pump bigly this week, and that's something that that was kind of like something said, hey, stocks still have room to run, right? From last week, we knew that stocks still had room to run, again, because of my Astrology for Dudes proprietary wave magic system, which is actually magic. I was consulted numerous magicians and wizards before creating it, and they assured me indeed it is in fact magic. So yeah, we're basically coming here on stocks. If I only had a mouse. This touchpad is making me a little bit laggy here, making me a little bit slow. Okay, anyways, yeah, so stock basically wanted to come to these top lines, right? These blue lines right here, these blue bands, that's a very, very reasonable place, reaction bounce for us to have expected. And it looks like it wants to continue, the S&P wants to continue all the way to the top side here of this blue band right there. So probably there's still more gains to be had in stocks. It does seem like the market still has an appetite. It feels just intuitively. So we're going to go on my feels here. The market has a risk appetite. I think that we can expect some drift higher. Guys, I think stocks are getting close to this kind of no man's land area. In fact, the entire risk market sector is getting close to a no man's land. Bitcoin is kind of in a no man's land. People know, they just know intuitively, people know Bitcoin has this tendency to skyrocket, stop, bleed out, act like it's about to break out, and then not break out, right? And you've already had these big gains. So people are like, well, shit, maybe I should take some profit on these gains. It could be difficult for things to really go meaningfully higher here. Gonna have to so this is a situation where I don't feel like my technical analysis gives us a good indication that it's, it gives us an indication that we're encountering some resistance. I don't think we're going to get any good indications about whether that resistance is just consolidation to go higher or is a capping place. In terms of the macro, the broad situation, right, the long-term situation, I see the macro and I say these tariffs still have to weigh on the economy. They still affect companies' balance sheets. We still had negative GDP for Q4. I guess technically we had positive GDP for the last quarter, the first numbers that came out, but they always revise those lower. So Just in general, guys, we're going to need to, we can't rely purely on the tea leaves here to understand what we're going to do next. We're going to have to figure out something when it comes to the news situation, the news cycle, and if there's any fundamental macro events happening. So at the moment, I don't have a whole lot of good trade tips for you the last few weeks, really ever since the whole macro crash scare, like 6 weeks ago, whenever that was. I felt like I had pretty good short-term tips for you guys to be like, hey, get here, do this. But I don't feel like I have nearly as good a signal on what the market is going to do over the next week. So, yep, sorry, I can't give you anything great, any good trading tips. But I can just give you kind of like a general orientation about where things are at. I can tell you that we are at kind of a consolidation point. I think there's probably still a little bit more juice to go higher in the risk markets, and Monero definitely seems like it's got juice to continue going higher. And another thing too, if you think about it, we've continually seen this pattern where markets have a situation where they're consolidating, or maybe they're slightly positive or slightly negative, and Monero tends to make good gains during those times, right? During stable times, Monero seems to outperform the markets. It's during like the big pumps that Monero tends to underperform the market. So this is probably actually a good situation here for us for the Monero price in general. So yeah, interestingly, now that I'm looking at the NASDAQ, this line right here looks to me like markets might want to try and tag the underside of that line, right? Tech stocks, the NASDAQ is probably going to go for that line. And at the moment, you can see it kind of corresponds with the top of the blue bands as well. So in a technical analysis, again, if you've got stocks, or if you're a stock trader, bro, or whatever, and you're big finance, little finance, you're in the traditional markets, you've probably got a bit more juice to squeeze from this guy. But it's starting to get a little bit long in the tooth when it comes to stock market gains. So yeah, we're going to call it there. That's a good enough price support. Gave you a quick overview. Hopefully, hopefully that gives you guys some ideas for you dirty, degenerate traders out there. Handing it back to you, gentlemen. Mr. Tuxedo.
Right. Thank you, Body, for your 5x price report. 5x speed for 5x gains, hopefully.
That's right. To the moon. Zoomer. All the way.
All right, I guess we'll probably go ahead and I don't see the guest on, so we might go ahead and head into the news. But thank you so much, Body, for quickly coming up while you could. And sorry you had the technical issues, but have a good rest of your day.
All right, thanks. We'll see you next time.